Imagine being the trusted physician to two Tudor queens, only to end up imprisoned in the Tower of London for your religious beliefs. That's exactly what happened to Balthasar Guercy, an Italian surgeon who treated Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn, and later found himself facing potential execution. On this day in Tudor history, the 7th of January 1557, surgeon and physician Balthasar Guercy passed away after a life filled with scandal, survival and service to royalty. But who was the man described by Ambassador Chapuis as a singularly clever surgeon and able physician? Well, let me tell you more about the man who went from healing the elite to fleeing persecution and navigating the dangerous world of Tudor politics. Nothing is known of Guercy's birth or background, but he was originally from the Duchy of Milan and appears to have been in England by 1515, when he is accused of failing to heal a syphilitic servant of a bishop, having been paid already to do so. He's mentioned again in the records in 1519, when London surgeon Thomas Roos wanted to bar him from practising, and Guercy took out an injunction against him. Roos was bound over to pay £100. Perhaps Guercy had a bit of a bad reputation at the time, as his biographer John Bennell notes that in his poem Why Come Ye Not to Court, which was an attack on Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, John Skelton writes of Guercy healing Domingo Lomelin's nose, but that it was not healed older best, it standeth somewhat on the west, and that he'd promised to heal the cardinal's eye with his gum of Arabic, but yet some surgeons put a doubt lest he will put it clean out and make him lame of his nether limbs. However, he is recorded as serving Queen Catherine of Aragon by March 1522, when he became an official denizen of England, meaning that he had the right of permanent residence. And in 1530 he attained a Bachelor of Medicine from Cambridge. By 1532 he'd moved into the service of Anne Boleyn, who became queen in 1533. And in 1533 he successfully treated the knee of one of Archbishop Thomas Cranmer's chaplains. On the 20th of August 1534, Guercy was recorded as being given licence to return to his native Italy for a time, with 3 servants, 5 horses or geldings, and 200 crowns of the sun, plus baggage. But he was back in England by December 1543, when, according to the imperial ambassador Eustace Chapuis, he was arrested and sent to the Tower of London, along with 2 friends of Bishop Stephen Gardiner, for having asserted in public the authority of the Pope in church matters. Chapuis was concerned about Guercy, who'd been born in the Holy Roman Empire, as Henry VIII had written to the Emperor stating that because Guercy had lived in England so long and taken out letters of naturalisation and sworn to the statutes of the land, he, and I quote, must needs be tried and judged as if he were an English subject, as being naturalised meant that Guercy had actually renounced the allegiance due to his natural lord, as well as the obligation under which he may be to the Apostolic See. Chapuis was very concerned about Guercy's case in particular, as he could be executed, but also the consequences of this reasoning for others born in the empire but naturalised in England. Fortunately, on the 2nd of February 1544, Chapuis reported to Charles V, who'd written to Henry VIII in favour of Guercy, that the king had ordered the physician's release. Phew. In 1546, Cambridge granted Guercy an MD following his 16 years of study there. By this time, Guercy had married an Englishwoman named Joan. They had at least 4 children, 2 sons, Benedict and Richard, and 2 daughters, Frances and Mary. In 1551, due to the Protestant legislation being enacted by Edward VI's government, Guercy fled into exile. He left without the king's permission, so was not included in Edward VI's Act of General Pardon in 1553. But he returned to England following the accession of the Catholic Queen Mary I and was pardoned by her in January 1554. 2 years later, in 1556, he became a Fellow of the College of Physicians. Guercy died on this day in 1557 after making his will, in which he described himself as aged and weak of body and diseased. He was buried at St Helen's Church, Bishopsgate. As well as leaving bequests to family and friends, he left money to Christ's Hospital, the Blackfriars, the Friars Observant, Sheen Priory, Sion Abbey, and the poor of his parish, St Helen's, and also the poor of Tadmarton in Oxfordshire and Sandy Acre, Prebend. I love researching and talking about the more ordinary people at court because, as is the case with Balthasar Guercy, I find that their lives are anything but ordinary. Guercy served 2 famous queens, survived the treacherous religious shifts of Tudor England, and even managed to escape the executioner after having a Holy Roman Empress speak up for him. His story reminds us that history isn't just about monarchs, it's also about the unsung figures who lived through and shaped those turbulent times. Thank you for joining me to uncover the story of this fascinating Tudor physician. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the dramatic and rather dangerous world of Tudor England.